Organizations don't just transform themselves, they transform themselves through people who transform the way they do their work, the way they do things. And therefore what we focus on in this event is on changing employee behavior. This is research that both Nick, Kinley and I have conducted in the last 3 years, and we share it with people in order to become more aware of the role of the manager in the creation of the context in which people operate, in which helps them drive corporate transformations.
The single biggest thing that any manager can do to help someone change their behavior, to improve their performance, is to make sure that their everyday working environment supports this behavior change, that the everyday working environment is like a life support machine for the new behavior that you want someone to start developing, to start showing.
One of the things we talked about was if you have somebody who's potentially an individual who's not performing effectively, what can you do to help them? So it could be things like, for example, thinking about maybe building up their self-confidence, so it's giving positive feedback at certain points of time. It could be, for instance, helping them with visualization, helping them to imagine what it would be like if they could get these things working in the right direction.
It's really preferable not to show perfection. So if you want to teach somebody presentation skills, don't bring them to Barack Obama in that case. He's just so eloquent. I mean, he's so great, in talking to the media. Bring them to somebody who's just a little bit better than they are and show them that it's possible, that they could have an impact. So tell people what it is that they're good at, sometimes what they're not good at. Try to express confidence in their abilities that increases that. Ask them about this. Take the time to persuade them this really could work.
What will work with one person may not work with someone else. So you need a range of techniques, you need a range of tools, so that you can use different things with different people to do what will work for them to help them improve. You can ask people what they've learned, get them to reflect on it. And then if you see someone being a bit fixed in their mindset, if you know, I can't do that, or I am like this, point it out to them, get them to reflect on it. So the more you can push someone to a growth mindset, encourage it in them, the more flexible they are and the more likely they are to be able to develop.
The information, the training, the learnings, the insights provided kind of arm you, with a kind of sense of, okay, yeah, this is great, because it builds your sense of confidence and ability to go and give those same outputs to your own teams, to help them sort of follow the same path. Because that's the other thing. It's not necessarily about just the people here in the room. It's about what they're all going to be able to take back to their teams respectively.
Behavioral change is tough business, but at the same time, it is a critical part of the management responsibility, because the manager is the most important link in the creation of a context for the behavioral change to take place. They are the architect of that change, and they need to be thoughtful about this.
How do you build willpower? So the first one is simply this: care. Look after people. We often kind of overlook the fact that as managers, we have to look after people.
Research suggests that within about a month, managers are already beginning to separate between those people who they think are high performers or intrinsically high performers and those who are not. It makes you realize you've got to be very careful about subconsciously categorizing people and then potentially not giving them the support and the coaching which they need. So I think that's something which, as a leader, you've got to sort of then start to stay on your toes and watch out for those kinds of things.
The assumption that most people make, and a lot of our managers make, is I need to change your behaviour, and actually we always need to start with our own behaviour first, and I think that's the most important takeaway. You can't assume that you can change someone else, first of all, before you actually take a good look at yourself first, and that you're willing to change yourself, because it's an old adage, but you shouldn't ask anyone to do something that you're not prepared to do yourself.
How to build confidence, how to help people build confidence. On the top of just, those brave words like you can do, there are a lot of more ways to influence behind.
One of the things that you could do to help people, or some of the things that you could do, is actually showing that things are changeable. Because what pessimists tend to do is that they fall into three big sins or mistakes. They overgeneralize things, so they take something that did not go well and they say nothing goes well. So we want to reinforce a true self-concept by reminding people of all of the good things that they are doing. And we want to help people remember that who they are is a good way to help them become more optimistic, in the way they interpret events.
And some of that is about trying to comfort them and say, look, take it easy, all right? It was this little thing. It's not the end of the world. And some of it is about helping them try and be objective. And one way you can help them be objective about that is to say, what would you say if this was someone else?
A lot of my experience is that when I work with line managers, their assumption is, well, if we just throw money at people, that's going to actually make it happen. And what this is really saying is that it shows the limitations of that, which I think we all know inherently is true. But what it's saying is if you really want to have success, it's about tapping into that intrinsic motivation, which is going to make people effective. And this gives you a lot of good ways to do that.